What's the date? A billion years ago? What are you doing here, man? Slowly and hot, isn't it? Oh, look, there's England. Wait a minute. That's not where I remember it being. Let's give it some time. There we go. 400,000 years ago, England was inhabited by native Neanderthals, and these people eventually became what's known as the Celtic tribes. Ever heard of the Boston Celtics? Basically,
so uncivilized.
The Romans conquered a bunch of land and took modern-day France, Spain, and Great Britain. And now the Celts are back in the mountainous northern areas of the British mainland. Let's go check on the Romans. Oh my god, Rome, are you good?
Start? I don't feel so good.
Oh, now all of Europe is tangled up and they won't stop fighting. Oh, look, now there's Vikings. Can this get any worse? And the French do what they do best and surrender. Now there's Normans. Wait, I'm being told they won this battle? Nah, these sources aren't true. Wikipedia freaking liars. What? Nice job, France. Yeah, it was probably just a lie. Probably just some French king trying to make himself sound better. Now, anyways, these Normans will be important soon. Now, anyways, this English king Edward is having a hard time making up his mind of who is getting the crown. We've got this dude from Normandy who claims Edward promised him the crown after a battle, and Edward's cousin who also had a claim to the throne. Anyways, what is the best way to settle a dispute over the crown? War. So they fought in the city of Hastings, and anyways, the Normans destroyed the English. Now, English has a Viking king. No more Anglo-Saxons. There's these things called the Crusades. You might have heard of them before. England, being the noble Christians they are, decide to help, and the Crusades, kind of a stalemate. I mean, like, they don't get control of the holy city. Byzantine Empire falls, but like, I mean, now none of Europe is really Islam, so like, I guess the Crusades worked. But for now, it's the Middle Ages, and I want you to tell me what you think will happen next. War, or war. You guessed it. War. England and France battle each other, and France actually win. I'm not reading this right. Am I dyslexic? No, I'm definitely not. What? The Scottish just turned 14 years old, and they're getting a little bit rebellious. And oops, bing bong, Scotland gone. And now some rats are doing some things in China. Sound familiar? Before we get to what those rats do, we should talk about Feudal Society. First, you have serfs and freemen. Basically, they work the land and are very poor in exchange for the Knights' protection, who basically protect everyone, and they get land from lords and barons who remain loyal to the monarch to get land. The monarch, of course, being the king or queen, who actually does get to control a quarter of the land for him or herself. This system allows for ultimate control. However, it's terrible for the peasants, which make up roughly 90% of the population. Basically, in the 1340s, there was no cleanliness. It was like a speedway bathroom off the interstate. Perfect time for a plague, eh? You got it right on the money. The Black Death ravaged Europe and killed as much as 30% of the population. Now, there's not as many workers and less peasants, which means people working the farms are dead, which means people actually have to go to work now. And by 1453, the Byzantine Empire falls. This marks the start of the Renaissance and the end of the Middle Ages. It's a golden age of science, art, and literature, and feudalism is now no longer dominant. People actually use the food they grow, and they eat it. Or also, currency it is exchanged for land and goods, except for land. Instead of land. Oh my god. A bunch of Italian dudes are making weird statues, weird paintings. Some Italian dude writes a book about politics. Shakespeare does a couple things. Oh, and then an apple falls on Mr. Newton's head, and now we're in game mode survival. The laws of motion, I've broken those a couple times, and things actually move. And we need to take a step back. I'm going a bit too fast for my own good. In 1492, some Spanish dude, Italian born, but funded by Spain, discovered a whole new continent called America. The British realized how lucrative the control of random boulders in the middle of the sea were, so they decided to build up their navy, and they were one of the world's dominant superpowers. Anyways, the French and English had a border dispute over the colonized land in America. So an up-and-coming general known as George Washington went to fight the French. Anyways, finally the French got whooped. And after the war, the economy was in such ruin they had to tax their new colony. Hey, let's go look and see what the Scottish are doing. Wee lad, let's go colonize that land over there. Oh wait, no, it failed and we're broke. Hey, England, can we make an alliance? Sure. And guess what the insane Renaissance thinkers of the time called it? The United Kingdom. Round of applause for their amazing creativity. I never would have come up with that in a million years. Anyways, the colonies that they fought for don't like the taxes anymore, so they decide to rebel. I'm sorry, you're gonna have taxes anyway, buddy. No one expects the farmers with guns to beat the most powerful military in the world, right? Wrong. America, baby. With help from the Spanish, French, and Dutch, the colonists won. Now it's the year 1800, and something amazing is about to happen, and England will be a major center of it. However, sadly, this is a major cause of global warming today. In 1712, a guy named James... invented the steam engine. This eventually led to the Industrial Revolution. Kinda. You see, the world around 1700 was mostly just countryside and farmland. But during the Industrial Revolution, people started to urbanize, and inventions like electricity also happened to help the revolution. After the Industrial Revolution, England was both very rich and powerful, and so were a lot of other countries in Europe. And so they decided to have a great fight. It's like kids in the bathroom slapboxing. Let's call it the Great War. Anyways, the French, British, and Americans were all on the same side against the Germans, and they're not very helpful allies, like the Ottoman Empire and the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Anyways, the Allied forces destroyed them, and the 20s were a time of peace and prosperity until the stock market crashed, and now everyone's poor. Sound familiar? But then a German dude decided to fail art school and went a little bit insane. He wanted to restore the will of Germany and do many other things that YouTube doesn't really like, and I don't know if a picture of his face would go well with my school project or YouTube. So, yeah, just picture some dude with a really weird mustache. He wanted to conquer the world. That sounds like me, at age 7, saying, "Hey mom, look at this nice sandbox." He invaded entire countries in just hours. He took all of Denmark in 6 hours. He made the French fall as well. And the Germans just needed to take England and have all of Europe. However, one great thing about Britain is its geography. Like I mentioned earlier, it's separated from the mainland of Germany and was Britain's saving grace during the World Wars. The Germans had to bomb them from the air. However, Britain's RAF, Royal Air Force, was superior to the Luftwaffe, and the Germans couldn't get control of Britain. In the east, the Soviets somehow got ready at the speed of my mother and whooped the Germans back west. The British, Canadians, and Americans had a devious little plan to liberate France. It's like that episode in the show where the hero and villain take down, like, the big villain. Like, the huge villain. Like Darth Vader taking down Darth Sidious. The English Redemption arc! Anyways, they invaded the beaches at Normandy, liberated France, and eventually won the war. Now, after all that talk about war, you'd think that the English are some warmongering brutes. You're right. Actually, not really. After the war, the economy got better, and a man named Alan Turing invented some weird techie things. Nerd. Wait, that's not weird. That's an early computer. Well, these days the UK and EU, European Union, are having a battle whether the UK is in the EU or not. The UK, about the size of the US state of Oregon, and has 66 million people, and has for most of history been a world superpower. Debatably, they still are. A huge economic factor in the EU wants them to stay. But Britain voted to leave in 2016. Now, history in France is being, Britain is being made today. COVID is going on. COVID is going on, and Britain is getting slammed by it. Now, history in Britain is happening today, and this video will probably have to be remade in like 1,000 years. But like, anyways, hope you enjoyed.